Hey team, Katie here from Equestrian Movement, and today we're going to have a little chat about how to play with your horse. I think that it's a really important tool to have in our toolkit when working with our horses. Make sure that our training sessions aren't just about drilling, repetitions and perfection, but keeping our horses engaged and interested in what we're doing and enjoying the process. So how do we make learning fun for our horses? We want to start with where is our level of attention and focus? So paying attention to where your horse looks. Does it look to you? Does it look away? That gives us an indication of how much our horse is enjoying being with us and being in that training process with us. Quite often I'll see horses that won't give eye contact, and that's because that's the first subtle signal that they're really starting to shut down and not consent the work that we're doing with them. And so then what happens is the more our horses disconnect from the training process, they start with looking away, and then we're going to have to start pushing them and putting more pressure on them to get them to enjoy working with us. So the things that you want to think about when you're trying to incorporate play in your training and incorporate keeping your horse engaged and interested in learning is, what does your horse like? How can you motivate your horse? If the only tool that we have to lean on for getting our horse to do things is the whip and increasing pressure, then of course we're not going to make the training environment fun for them. We can structure the training session so that we mark the behaviors for task achievement, and then that will get them a little bit more interested and happy in learning because of the happy hormones that fire with task achievement. But we've got to get them to that place first, and to get them there is we've got to make things fun. We've got to be somebody worth looking to. We've got to open up a language and a pathway of communication between us and our horses. So for me, working with the horses, it is a-okay for them to say no to an ask. That is the difference between them giving permission for me to do something or them not giving me permission to do something. And so we can start the conversation from there. If the horses aren't giving us permission to do something, why aren't they giving us permission to do something? Is there something pain related that we need to address? Are they just not having fun with what we're asking them to do? Is it boring? Is it tiresome? Is it hard? Is it confusing? Are their bodies getting sore and tired? So understanding where that no is coming from and where that lack of permission is coming from helps us restructure our training session to keep our horses interested and engaged and to keep learning fun for them. So part of the learning process is that we can develop cues to communicate with our horse. And then but our horses initially don't recognize that what we're doing is trying to give them words to talk to us with. And to be honest, most people don't recognize that as well. So having a conversation with your horse is a really important part of having an engaged, willing, consenting horse that enjoys its work, and showing them how to find cues and making finding cues fun, finding the release of pressure fun, finding learning words fun is the first skill set that I try to develop in the horses that I work with. Once they have a language to talk to us with and they can enjoy our us being around them and playing with them and engaging with them, then we can start maybe thinking about work. But even then, the period of time where we're asking them to focus and apply themselves to a task is still going to be really short, because we've got to build their brain like a muscle for a length of time that they can hold focus for and be concentrating and, organizing their emotions and finding answers for. So one of a couple of key areas to keep an eye on when you're working with your horse, is it still fun for them, is can they relax? Do they feel safe to relax around you? Are they keeping their focus and their attention on you? Where are they looking? Are they staying with you if they have permission to leave? What kinds of different motivations work for your horse? And just like in general, what do they look like when they're happy? What do they look like when they're having fun? We want to also recognize that what fun looks like for our horses playing with other horses is not how we want them to play with us. They need to be able to regulate their emotions, to not get overstimulated and too playful, because then that can lead to striking and kicking out and those kinds of things. So we set, as part of our training, we set boundaries with our horses for what play with humans looks like, and we do some work to organize their emotions to make sure that they can bring that level of play down into careful focus if they're getting too silly. And then we do what's called toggling, where we can bring their energy up into play and then bring their energy back down into relaxation. And over time, we're building emotional resilience to be able to self-manage when things get more challenging, when things get more stressful, and also to be able to bring their energy up into work without having an emotional resistance to what we're asking them to do. So when I like to start working with a horse, the first thing that I'm going to do is connection through movement, opening up that conversation through movement about how to work with me, and connection-based liberty. And so we can look for different ways that our horse likes to play. So we can start play through movement, we can do targeting. There's lots of different ways that we can find to play with our horses. Once we have them engaged and interested and willing and consenting and wanting to learn, then we can think about what does it look like for them to organize their emotions into more of a working brain. Can we focus them into controlling themselves a little bit more? Can we focus them into finding new words, putting a little bit more pressure on them to get them to focus and have a little bit more discipline that is required for work? And then how long are we going to maintain that for before we give them a break? So if I'm working with a young green horse, it's going to be super short, the working brain. And then over time, we're building out the length of time that we're asking them to focus and concentrate for, the types of asks that we have of them. Initially, I start with really simple single aid cues, and then over time, we're building that out into multiple combination cues, where we're going to start creating full sentences and conversations with them. And by that stage, we're doing some pretty fun stuff in the saddle and some pretty fun stuff at liberty. So being able to keep your horses engaged and learning and enjoying their ride and their work is going to have a horse that's far more willing, but then also listening to them when they set boundaries and when they ask for support means that we can do our work on our horse's terms. So if you're wanting to learn how to incorporate more fun, more connection, clearer cues, emotional self-regulation, and consent and permission-based training into your training with your horse, Check out our membership, Training Trainability, at www.equestrianmovement.com/trainability. Link is in the description.